Welcome to the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, where we simplify the complexities of your leadership journey. I'm Scott, and joining me is our go-to leadership guru, Dr. Michael David Morales, known to many as Mo.
Hey, what's up, Scott? It's good to be here, man. Let's do it.
Good to be here, too. So, a montage. A good montage has been a crucial part in most movies. I mean, to the point where there's this very little, maybe well-known, maybe not well-known movie called Team America World Police. I'm not going to recommend it because it is kind of a ridiculous movie, but there's a whole song about montages in there, just making fun of the fact that so many different movies have them. And if you think about it, like Rocky is known for great montages, and so are so many other films. But the one that always comes to my mind is The Karate Kid, right? Daniel LaRusso, the OG Karate Kid. And that montage in that movie really serves as a transformative journey for Daniel LaRusso. He captures his struggles and triumphs under kind of the guidance of Mr. Miyagi. And instead of traditional martial arts drills, like many of you hopefully that have seen the movie know, Daniel's lessons kind of begin with really mundane tasks like waxing cars or painting the fence or painting the house or what is the last one? Sanding the floor. Ultimately and initially, they really actually frustrate Daniel. So he just doesn't see why he's doing these things. But as with most movies, ultimately, it is revealed that there is a deeper purpose behind each of those activities. And so this kind of innovative approach not only builds Daniel's kind of physical skills, but also instills valuable life lessons about patience, discipline, and resilience. And so the montage kind of culminates in a powerful moment of realization as Daniel learns kind of that mastery, that it's just not only about kind of the technique itself, but it's about embracing the journey itself, turning kind of what once seemed like maybe monotonous chores into kind of a path of growth and empowerment. And so today, just like training to fight the Cobra Kai, leadership training is an essential part of every leader's journey. And Mo, why don't you take us off kind of from that introduction there and take us into our first point of today?
Man, what a great opening, Scotty. And before we get to the first point, I have to talk about, as soon as you said montage, and I had no idea you were going to talk about this, but I got excited and started thinking about the Rocky movies. So the Rocky movies in general have way more montages than they should. I think through all the Creed movies that they have, there's like 10 montages. When you talk about the power of leadership training, the first point today is this: leadership training helps transform your organization. And that might just be an easy, well, yeah, duh, Mo. Well, if it were that easy, people would actually do it, right? So let me tell you about a story from one of John Maxwell's books, The 5 Levels of Leadership. And in this book, he tells a story about Cheryl Batchelder, who is the former CEO of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. I love Popeyes, so good. But leadership training and focus on personal growth is what allowed her to revitalize the company was struggling, man. It was bad. And so she shifted the organizational culture by prioritizing servant leadership, and those principles and actively investing in her team's growth really changed the way that the expansion of their franchises just kind of took off. Above all else, it just increased morale. It was awesome.
Yeah, Mo, you mentioned kind of the idea of servant leadership, and I feel like that's something that we hear constantly about in today's world. And I also, in turn with that, hear it kind of improperly being used to where that idea of servant leadership means you need to sacrifice yourself fully for whatever that cause is. So maybe just for the sake of it, could you kind of just give us a brief kind of definition of what true servant leadership looks like?
Yeah, if you really want to know a lot about servant leadership and you want to read something really long and boring, read my dissertation for my doctorate, and you'll learn everything about servant leadership that you want to know and probably stuff you didn't want to know. But if you just really want to simplify servant leadership, it's just doing things for your people so that they learn how to pay it forward. That's really what it's about. What I learned from the master of servant leadership, a guy named Greenleaf, if you've got a team, what are you doing to take care of your team? It's putting your team before yourself and it's a people first organization. So leaders, what kind of leadership do you have? Our leadership is just one type of leadership. We've talked about it and we do on all of our episodes. If you become a servant leader and you create a culture of servant leadership, it's a great way to take a company or a team.
You kind of started off telling us a little bit about Cheryl and her story and things like that. But I know that there's so much that can happen just in the world of industry and how it affects kind of the vision. So could you get a little bit more into kind of that and really kind of how she potentially kind of influenced those things for Popeyes?
So when I read about Cheryl and the 5 levels of leadership, I immediately Googled her and looked her up on Amazon to see if she had a book. And lo and behold, she had a book. And it's called Dare to Serve. What a great book. Pick it up, read it. It's incredible. But in that, she talks about what it means to build that culture of servant leadership. And so when we talk about leadership that helps transform your organization, I guess a sub point of that today would be that when we are looking for that kind of organization, we're looking to enhance adaptability to industry changes, meaning industries change and they change quick. And what Cheryl did is she said, this is where the industry is going. What do we have to do to navigate and evolve with trends to keep our teams aligned and motivated? So to give a specific story from her book, this is great. There were so many people and so many projects when she came in, and she sat down with all the big muckety mucks and said, tell me what all these people are working on. And they were working on something like 75 projects within the company. And she said, do we need all these? And pretty much said, look, let's figure out what the important things are, what's important next, right? The win principle. And I think they brought it down to like 8 projects out of the 75 or whatever that mattered. Here's the ones that we're sticking to. And if you want to be a part of this organization, you got to find a way to contribute to one of these. And guess what happened? People found a way to get productive. She transformed the way that they did the projects, and in turn, the whole culture shifted. It wasn't just hiding in one of these millions of projects they were doing. She said, look, you've got to be on something that matters in the company, and within that, you have to do something that matters. So that's how you can do industry change. Another point would be this. When we're looking at leadership training that helps transform an organization, what it does is it creates a vision for long-term growth. That's what I love about Cheryl Batchelder. She didn't want to just transform something for today, when she did it, obviously. She said, what are we going to do to make this company successful? So they went from being the worst in the industry to being the best. And so we always see their commercials around today, right? And what does it end with? Love that chicken from Popeyes? Man, I do love that chicken from Popeyes. And it may not be here today if it wasn't for Cheryl Batchelder. So leaders, here's a couple of points for you. Give training to your team that provides them the ability to envision your plan for the future and how they can jump onto it, just like Cheryl did. And secondly, this leadership training helps even the senior leaders redefine company goals to compete with the evolving trends of the industry, just like we saw when Cheryl pulled her senior team and said, we're making some changes, get on board.
Man, 75 different projects. You just got to wonder what delicious project that we might have missed out on just because
I'm telling you, I think about the different recipes and stuff, and I'm like, that could have been one of them. But then again, if she didn't do all that stuff and make those changes, would Popeyes even be here today?
That's true. Shout out to Popeyes. They don't sponsor us, but if they want to, we are readily available for those talks.
That would be incredible. Yeah. Give us a call.
And so at the end there, you mentioned something just how Cheryl helped navigate that change. And I know one of the things that we're going to talk about today is just how leadership training can help just an organization manage organizational change. So Mo, why don't you talk to us a little bit about that? I know you've got a different story other than Cheryl to kind of hit home on that point.
I do. Our second point for today is this. Leadership training helps manage organizational change. I really hope that out there you have organizational change in the works. I hope that the only thing that remains the same in your organization is change. In Leading Change, which is a book by John Cotter, he tells a story about General Electric under Jack Welch. And if you want to know about being successful in the business world, look no further than Jack Welch. That guy used structured leadership and the development of programs to drive a cultural shift across the organization. And Welch equipped managers with the tools to lead change. And by cultivating a culture of collaboration and innovation, he successfully navigated GE through intense industry transformation. And I'll say this about Jack Welch. I read a lot about him. He's in a lot of books that are written. Not everybody agrees with the way that he did his management style. I'm not saying that you have to, but what I am saying is that Jack Welch had a vision and he knew that he created a culture. And if you wanted to be successful, in his company, you had to grab onto the culture that he promoted and built. And I love that about Jack Welch. And I hope that you pick up one of his books and read and say, what are the good things that I can read from Jack and learn from him? What are the things that I want to stay away from?
Yeah. So one of the things that can happen with change, should say, not a lot of people like change. I feel like change is a hot button topic because nobody likes it. I mean, you look, even though the industry changes all the time, whether it is fashion, whether it is social media. I found out the other day in my place of work that Instagram is no longer considered a cool thing. And I don't have one, but that just blows my mind. It's not even that
old. I didn't know that. Wow.
Right. I didn't either, but people were talking, or the people were talking, they were saying, Instagram isn't really relevant a whole lot as much anymore.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Was it the kids saying that it wasn't cool, or was it the old people?
It was kids. Is the younger generation were saying it's not cool anymore. So
did you ask them what is cool?
Yeah, TikTok. So
okay,
it's TikTok or nothing.
Okay.
But all that to say,
glad to know. I want to be cool. So
I've given up on that. So
yeah.
But all that to say, people don't like change.
Yeah.
Change can be met with a whole lot of resistance. And so how do you work with those individuals? Because regardless, right, the company is going to change. And it doesn't matter necessarily at what level someone's trying to resist. If the change is what needs to happen for the company, it is what will happen. So how do you work as a leader with those individuals that might still be resistant to the change, even though it's happening, and ensure that they remain aligned kind of with the vision and mission?
And the first is this. Leaders, you need to build skills for handling resistance. Managing resistance to change is critical. Leadership training offers tools to encourage collaboration and resolve concerns. So just remember this, 70% of change initiatives fail due to resistance. And so this means that there's a need for leaders to be more equipped to manage these challenges. So leaders, I want you to think about this. When has there been a time at your place of work, whether it was you or another leader, that put something forth and it failed? Think back, why did it fail? And 7 out of 10 times, you'll say, well, people just didn't like it and they pushed back. Leaders, you need to find out how to work through this. The second is this. Leaders, you need to promote collaboration and feedback. You have got to bring your people into the process. You see, by fostering open communication with people at all levels in your company, leaders, you're going to get feedback from all levels, and it's going to enhance support for change initiatives. And so training teaches the importance of stakeholder buy-in, and it ensures a smoother transition and engagement from the entire team.
How do you go about doing that? If you truly want feedback from all levels, I mean, how do you get that feedback from, a mailroom employee or an intern? And how do you get them to give honest feedback to someone like a senior level manager? Because I'm just thinking how difficult that would be for someone that might have really good feedback. There's just that separation kind of power. And how do you encourage your subordinates to really give you that feedback?
Yeah, I've got 3 points for that, and here they are. Communicate, communicate, and communicate. That's it. People try to make it complex, and this is the simple thing. Leaders, if you can't get the buy-in, you're probably communicating wrong. Now, that's if you have a good plan. If your vision is horrible, then all the communication in the world isn't going to help. But if you've got a good plan, if you got a good vision, great. After that, then it is getting everybody else on the team to buy in. Once you figure out that the vision works, you go down to the mailroom. You get out of your cushy chair that costs $2,000. You walk down there, you roll your sleeves up, and you work on the mail line with that guy. You talk to him. Not once, not twice. It might be 100 times. I don't know. But that communication is going to start individually bringing people online. That's the first part, individually. Then small groups. That's where you bring in focus groups, things like that. You sit people down. You sit the mailroom guy down. You sit down the guy that's watering the plants. You sit down one of the office workers that's been there for 20 years. You sit down an office worker that's been there for 2 years. You get all them together and you have small group interaction. That's the second thing. And then you have to have the corporate meetings. Don't have the corporate meetings first. In fact, there's a great story of John Maxwell. And when he wanted to build their new big church, this was a long time ago, and it was one of the first big projects that he did as a young man. And he said, we're going to build this huge church. It's going to cost umpteen $million. And we've done all the research. We've had all the conversations. He communicated individually, small groups. And then he said, now it's time to bring it to the corporate body, which means they brought it to the church as a whole. All the members, they were invited to this huge thing. They laid out the presentation. You know what the only question at the end of that presentation was, Scotty? One person raised their hand and said, so where are the water fountains going to be? That was it. And the rest is history. They built the church. It was incredible. It's still standing today. It's still successful today. That's part of John Maxwell's legacy, whatever. But his point with that is he did the work on the front end. Leaders, are you doing the work on the front end to help your people buy in? That's where the training helps. When you go to your people and you sit them down and you say, this is what I want to do, that's going to help you get the buy-in. That's going to help you be better in your leadership and make your organization more successful.
So once you've kind of got people aligned in that, you want to continue to grow them. What do you have for us in terms of kind of continuing to grow those individuals through the process of kind of that leadership training?
So when talking about the power of leadership training, here's our third and final point for today. Leadership training boosts professional and personal development. So in one of my favorite books, Scotty, and one of yours as well, Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Bradbury and Greaves, they discuss a story of an executive named Jim who realized through leadership training that his lack of self-awareness and poor emotional management hindered his team and their performance. And so what Jim had to do is he had to transform his relationships by working on his emotional intelligence and understanding how his actions impacted others, which led to a more cohesive and productive work environment. Leaders, what does that mean? In a couple words, it's your fault.
It's always your fault. Everything. I just read a newsletter today, and it was talking about just, again, that idea that everything rises and falls on leadership. It doesn't matter what level you're at, but yeah, it's all your fault.
It is. It's your fault, Scotty. Just letting you know.
It 100% is. So Mo, kind of what are some specific ways that we might go about kind of developing that leadership training then?
The first thing is this. This is going to strengthen self-awareness and goal setting. And so leadership training encourages leaders to evaluate their strengths and weaknesses, and it helps them set clear personal and organizational goals. It also helps people understand themselves because that's foundational in becoming an effective leader. So the question I would have for this point is, leaders, are you helping your people set goals, not just company goals, personal goals? We talk about goals a lot, and I take several people at the end of each year in a goal-setting exercise that helps them get ready for the next year. Leaders, are you helping your people set goals? If not, we can help. The second point is this. Leaders, when we have this kind of mindset, it's going to increase earning potential and career opportunities. 42% of those completing leadership certificates saw a salary increase. Leadership training has proven to open doors and enhance career growth. So, do you have your people in any kind of programs to get leadership certificates or even certificates within your specific industry? If those programs are available, you need to push your people towards that. When you have large organization, small organization, a big team, a small team within that organization, your goal should be for your people to move to the next level and help your people grow. And lastly, for this point of increasing earning potential and career opportunities for your people, remember that developing leadership skills can position professionals for higher responsibility and compensation. You want your people to be successful. I hope they outgrow your company, because when you start training people and then they start leaving for the good reasons because they're being pulled from other companies, then more people are going to want to work for you, because they're going to say, gosh, if I go work for Scott, everybody that works for him ends up getting a job as a CEO or whatever it is. So are you that kind of leader, or are you stingy and just keeping those leaders kind of stifled and keeping their leadership lids low on purpose so that they never outgrow you to help you? That's the wrong way to do leadership. That's not servant leadership.
I had someone the other day ask me, they said, if you ever left your current position, what would you hope that the next person coming in does? And I said, everything that I do, just better.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I would always hope that the next person is better than me. And they countered back and they asked me, they said, well, don't you want to be remembered? And I said, I don't care about being remembered. I said, as long as I know that I'm doing a good job now, I know that I'm influencing, I'm empowering others. I said, I'd hope that the next person that comes in and does that. And I hope whatever position that I go into, that I do it better than the person before me. And that's what I would want. That's what I would want for my employees. And I think keeping that mindset is so important, because I feel so often it's, well, I worked in this position, so I want to be able to keep it. I want people to be successful, but to a point, and to a point where it doesn't influence me. But in reality, like, you should want people to be better than you and want them to grow better than you. And I think that's so important and so great. And so, Mo, with that, do you have any final thoughts for us today?
I do. So just a couple. Leadership training is an investment in personal growth and organizational success. Remember, leaders, they don't have to be exclusive. You want to train your people, and you want to train them all the time. They should always be learning. In fact, they should be looking forward to training opportunities and not thinking, oh gosh, I just got to click these boxes. If that's the way they look at it, you're doing things wrong. I want my people to continually get better. And the products that I put out are first for my people and me. And because I know that I will get something out of them, and my people will get something out of them, that's why I know my clients will get something out of it. Secondly is this: whether you're a seasoned leader or if you're somebody who is just brand new in leadership or anywhere in between, a training program that meets your goals is going to help you contribute meaningfully to your organization's growth. So just as you would want to have the right training, you want your people to have the right training. So that goes back to the main point that I always say, which is, it's all your fault. Anything that's going wrong, just go look in the mirror and say, why is this person horrible? Dude, that's right, it's me. I'm looking in the mirror. And it's not that guy that's the problem, I'm the problem. It's not that girl that's the problem, I'm the problem. And I say that in jest, but I say it sincerely in that don't make excuses, make things better. And by starting with your own training and then giving your people training opportunities, it's going to make everybody in the company better.
Great final words there. And for all of our listeners, we've got some big things coming, so get ready with us. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, or if you didn't, either one, we're always about feedback here. So please rate, review, and subscribe. You guys can connect with us on Instagram. We are still, regardless if it's popular or not, we are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or at our website, rtclc.com. Until next time, lead with purpose and stay authentic.